We have you covered in the next 60 minutes in news, business and sports. But first things first, the highlights.
Tonight, Samburu governor in big trouble.
Moses Kasaine Lonol Kulal, you are charged with 13 accused persons.
What are the numbers involved?
Accused one shall be released on a bond of Kenya shillings 150 million with one surety of similar amount.
And the big leadership crisis in Samburu after its top officials were arrested and prosecuted over graft.
Also tonight, the big plunder of resources in the counties. The details of devolved wastage as flagged by the controller of budgets.
Plus, taking the roll call, the fears and controversies as government's ambitious project gets rolling.
Ati mzee anaambiwa ukienda kujiandikisha, sasa kama wewe uko na mpango ya kando, mtoto atajua baba yake ni nani. Sasa nakwambia upuzi ambao uko Kenya ni mwingi sana.
And also tonight,
hii ndio walituambia tutumie. So mimi nashindwa ni gani tutatumia.
At some stage we all said, oh wow, this is going south. So we need to arrest the situation.
The confusion woven into NEMA's ban on non-woven carrier bags.
NTV Tonight with Dennis Okari and Olive Burrows.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us on NTV Tonight. Our sign language interpreter is David Agondoa. Samburu Governor Moses Lenol Kulal will have to fork out 100 million shillings cash bail or 150 million shillings bond and a surety of a similar amount to stop being a guest of the state.
The Anti-Corruption Court's Chief Magistrate Justice Douglas Ogoti imposed the stringent requirements on Lenol Kulal and also made an order that the governor and his co-accused should not set foot in the county's offices or access public money as the graft case against him continues. NTV's Kennedy Mureithi with the details.
For 3 hours Tuesday morning, Samburu Governor Moses Lenol Kulal was an unwilling visitor at the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission's headquarters as EACC officers took a statement from him in a case where he faces accusations of graft. When he emerged,
Do you still, Governor, do you still insist that this is a witch hunt?
Yes, it is. And it is drama. It is drama, as you see.
What do you say, sir?
he was driven off to the Milimani Law Court, where he was ushered into the cells and was held for another 3 hours before he was presented before Chief Magistrate Douglas Ogoti. Governor Lenol Kulal was charged with 4 counts including abuse of office, conspiracy to commit an offence of corruption, conflict of interest and unlawful acquisition of public property. He denied the charges. There are 13 others expected to be arraigned on Thursday afternoon. The prosecution did not, however, object to the governor being given bail, but sought to have the court restrict his access to his office or public funds.
The director of IFMIS is directed not to allow the 13 accused persons and to be specific from accused 1 to accused 13 to access the government of Samburu accounts till the application to be filed is heard and determined.
His freedom will also largely depend on his family's and friends' ability to speed and raise the amount set as bail.
Besides depositing his passport in court, accused 1 shall be released on a bond of Kenya shillings 150 million with one surety of similar amount or a cash bail of Kenya shillings 100 million.
The EACC says it is still investigating other matters relating to the governor and some of his officials at the county with the aim of prosecuting the matter.
As we speak, we have commenced recovery proceedings and we have preserved assets touching on this county to the tune of 300 million Kenya shillings.
And with that 100 million cash bail, the courts have set a new precedent, perhaps to deter anyone who might want to go the corruption route. Kennedy Mureithi, NTV at the Milimani Courts in Nairobi.
Staying with that story, Samburu County is just about paralyzed with its top leadership either arrested or wanted by the EACC.
For the first time on Kenyan soil, our governor, his deputy and 12 other county officials face prosecution for illegally spending 84.6 million shillings from the county government coffers and allocating the money for services that are unconstitutional.
NTV's Mel Miendo reports on what the situation means for the running of the county.
Samburu County is in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. 84.6 million shillings is said to have been paid to Oryx petrol station for the supply of fuel from 27th March 2013 to date. Samburu Governor Moses Lenol Kulal, who is in his second term, is said to have failed and or neglected to disclose his interest in the said service station. The amount was shared between the governor and his proxy Hesbon Dathi. The payments facilitated by 12 chief officers, 3 of whom served in the first term. Deputy Governor Julius Lesotho is also implicated in the corruption scandal.
What is important for Kenyans today is recovery of what has been stolen. And that is where our focus really is.
The named officials are to be charged and prosecuted. They're said to have actively participated in the perpetration of criminal activities. This leaving questions unanswered as to just how the county will function without Stephen Letinina, the county secretary, Daniel Lenol Kirina, Chief Officer Finance, Ruben Lemunyete, Chief Officer Department of Agriculture and Livestock, Paul Lolil Mingani, Chief Officer Transport and Public Works, Bernard Lesurmat, Chief Officer Lands and Housing, David Lusenge, Chief Officer Sports and Youth Affairs, and Geoffrey Kitewan, Head Supply Chain Management. Also mentioned are Josephine Lenasalia, former Chief Officer Environment and Natural Resources, Lilian Baluga, former Chief Officer Gender, Culture and Social Services, and Linus Lenol Ngenje, former Chief Officer Education.
Kama mpatikana ofisadi afanywe sheria.
Nenda unajenga nyumba kwa karibu na kina inaitwa Lavington ati hapo kwa kina Rais Uhuru. Hao basi ni kwani uko na pesa gani yetu tu bana. Hafai kuachiliwa.
Kuna mtoto hapo mjini, lakini nikienda kuomba pesa ya shule mimi nakatazwa, mimi naambiwa ati mixe haina deni, lakini mimi niko na deni hata saa hii. Kwa hivyo mimi nasema wangechukua hatua ili gavana yetu angaliwe ni namna gani, kwa maana yeye anaenda na upande moja.
Sababu hata tangu wakati kulisemekana pesa imeibiwa, hadi saa hizi kumekuwa na a lot of things. Pesa isirculate kwa town, vitu mingi tu, pesa hakuna.
Currently, Samburu County government has the County Executive Committee members in office. However, they're not mandated to sign any official documents, but can only assist in policy making. The situation in Samburu remains unclear as to what will be the way forward for its leadership. Mel Miendo, NTV.
Now, on the recommendation of the Judicial Service Commission, President Uhuru Kenyatta has constituted a tribunal to probe the allegations leveled against Supreme Court Justice Jackton Ojwang. The tribunal will be chaired by Justice Al-Nashir Visram, and the other members are Justice Festus Azangala, Ambrose Weda, Andrew Bahati Mwamuye, Lucy Kambuni, Sylvia Wanjiku Mushiri, and Amina Abdallah.
In the meantime, Jackton Boma Ojwang, judge of the Supreme Court of Kenya, stands suspended from exercising the functions of his office with immediate effect, according to Article 168(5) of the Constitution.
Just to take those names again, the tribunal will be chaired by Justice Al-Nashir Visram, and the other members of that tribunal are Justice Festus Azangala, Ambrose Weda, Andrew Bahati Mwamuye, Lucy Kambuni, Sylvia Wanjiku Mushiri, and Amina Abdallah. Now, the reason why roads in your county are in deplorable condition, projects stalled and services not delivered, is because county governments spent over 80 billion shillings to pay salaries and allowances in 6 months this year.
The figures are above the recommended amount set aside for salaries, according to a report by the Control of Budget, Agnes Odhiambo. Now, Odhiambo says in the report for the 6 months of the 2018-2019 financial year that some counties also paid their MCA's allowances that are above figures set by the government. NTV's Silas Apollo reports.
The report by the Controller of Budget for the year 2018-2019 shows that the 47 county government went against some of the recommendations given on the use of funds. The counties stand accused of blowing up funds to pay salaries and allowances at the expense of improving the delivery of services and implementation of projects. Other expenses were on foreign and domestic trips, which also gobbled up considerable amounts of funds sent to the devolved units. In the 6 months of July to December 2018, counties paid salaries worth 80 billion shillings, which the report says accounted for 58.4% of the budget. Odhiambo says that this expenditure is against the 35% minimum set by the Public Finance Management Act. The result of this expenditure is that most projects in counties remained incomplete, with some services affected and governors on the spot over failure to fulfill promises they made during campaigns. Some counties have also been put on the spot for failing to pay salaries, including that of nurses, leading to strikes and boycotts. Odhiambo says that counties of Wajir, Baringo and Nyamira recorded the highest percentage in payments of emoluments at 89.3%, 76.5% and 75.7% respectively. Some like Kakamega on the spot for paying their MCAs more funds in the form of sitting allowances against the recommended rates. The counties reported to have paid its MCAs 126,699 shillings every month against the recommended 124,800 shillings set out by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. Other high spenders on allowances paid to MCAs were Nakuru, which paid its members 117,462 shillings as monthly allowance, Vihiga, which paid members 116,624 shillings, Kisii, which paid 112,883 shillings, and Kwale, which paid its members 111,781 shillings. Kisii County is accused of spending the highest of all the counties on domestic and foreign travel at 323.73 million shillings, followed by Turkana and Migori, which spent 253.9 million shillings and 250.94 million shillings, respectively. The devolved units also failed to collect enough revenue, which stalled the implementation of projects. Odhiambo says that the counties only managed to collect a paltry 29% of their annual target, a trend that has seen governors put on the spot. The county chiefs have been accused of condoning corruption and failing to streamline their revenue collection points, leading to pilferage.
While the report says that progress can be made if counties focused on correcting some of the messes, it also paints a picture of what could now turn out to be the reason why counties have been on the spot for failure to deliver services and projects running into billions of shillings. Silas Apollo, NTV.
The Director of Public Prosecutions, Nurdin Haji, is yet to receive corruption case files for the 21 billion shilling Aurora and Kimwarer Dam scandal from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations.
This comes in the wake of an asset recovery tussle between the DCI and Barclays Bank, which advanced a more than £500 million shillings loan to the Italian contractor CMC di Ravenna for the construction of the Itare Dam in Nakuru County.
The much-anticipated arrest and prosecution of the masterminds of the Aurora and Kimwarer Dam scandal might take longer after the Director of Public Prosecution, Nurdin Haji, stated that he has not received investigation files from the Directorate of Public Prosecution. The DPP, through a series of tweets, said the investigations are complex in nature and involves various countries linked directly or indirectly to the 21 billion dam scandal for the two multi-purpose dams that are yet to be constructed in Elgeyo Marakwet County. About 107 companies led by the main contractor CMC di Ravenna, contracted to build Aurora and Kimwarer dams, are being investigated by DCI Director George Kinoti. The Italian company recently stated that it is ready to commence construction but is unable to access the site. DCI is also investigating a possible 4 billion shillings kickback awarded to senior ministerial officials by the Italian contractor. The Directorate of Criminal Investigations is also investigating how 100 vehicles were bought using money meant for construction of 3 dams, which include Aurora, Kimwarer and Itare, that were supposed to be constructed by the Italian firm. Barclays Bank financed a loan of 585 million shillings to CMC di Ravenna for the purchase of 98 vehicles and equipment to be used in the dams project. 4 cabinet secretaries are among persons of interest that have already recorded statements at the DCI headquarters along Kiambu Road, even as investigations are ongoing. Seth Olale, NTV, Nairobi County.
From those issues to social issues now, where the Kenyan public, most of those that engage in betting, are divided on whether gambling in Kenya has gotten to unhealthy levels.
The consensus appears to be that lack of meaningful employment contributes to the high rate of gaming. NTV's Charity Mwangi reports.
76% of our young people are involved in one form of betting or the other.
It is a sobering deduction, one that raises alarm among the Kenyan public, a generation drawn by the seeming availability of easy cash that unknowingly leads to losses.
Nilikuwa na duka nikafundishwa na besta yako beti kitu ilisha yote. Hii ni kitu huwa ina balance. Sia ukikuja hapo natarajia ushinde.
The betting shops are always flocked with hopeful, youthful gamers who graduated from betting on their phones and now chase the winning rush through live betting that takes them just 90 seconds to either win or lose.
One hour, unaweza airtime 10, juu nacheza 90 second na ni cartoon. Si ati game unajua maniwe, unajua chess, unajua conform, hiyo unaweza pata game period ya 10 imepigwa.
But once in a while, a more mature gamer walks in and shatters the notion that betting is the preserve of the young and inexperienced.
At least I must have something to do, so I relax on betting.
The retired University of Nairobi employee boasts of a prosperous career and only visits the betting shops as an innocent pastime that earns him some money more often than not.
I build myself gradually. Naenda nyumbani Nyeri, I go home to Nyeri, nayaka nanua mawe kidogo. Naenda food yaendelea. Because sooner or later I'll leave Nairobi.
Winning like losing happens by chance, and the feeling of these players are dictated by either the wins or the losses that they have been able to register. Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i slammed by gamers like Radhongo, who feel he does not appreciate their situation.
Leave Matiang'i alone. Matiang'i is a millionaire, or rather a billionaire. He should not intervene. How much does the government get from tax?
The issue of taxes being one that has been greatly discussed and one that will continue to raise great debate in the gaming sector.
It's a high time that control, regulation and proper policy was put in place.
To them, it is a money-making venture, one that has been overly politicized. They stand by one mantra: life is a risk, and so is gambling. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
Olive, have you ever tried gambling?
No, I've not.
Betting?
No, I haven't. Because I've never won anything in a supermarket, even from Safaricom.
So you have no hope at all in winning anything?
No.
I have a friend who was stranded one day and he tried to bet on a game between Manchester United and I think Liverpool and won the money at the end of the day, bought potatoes, bought oranges and tomatoes for his family, and we drove home and he was very, very happy.
Okay, have you ever tried it?
No, I've never tried. I don't even know how it works.
Okay. All right, over to matters Huduma number. President Uhuru Kenyatta says Kenya will save billions of shillings once the Huduma number is fully implemented in the country.
Speaking when he was launching the National Integrated Information Management System, NIMS, in Machakos County, the president said last month alone the country saved approximately 150 million shillings after systems management was carried out in the police service.
The president has called upon Kenyans and foreigners residing in the country to ignore those criticizing the registration exercise, saying the benefits are massive and that all measures will be put in place to ensure data and information shared is safe. Daniel Mule tells us more.
At the Masi Public Grounds in Machakos County, President Uhuru Kenyatta dispelled the fears emanating from uncertainties surrounding the biometric registration process, which he officially launched today. He hit at those against the process, calling upon all Kenyans and foreigners living in the country to come out in large numbers for the exercise, whose benefits he says are massive, including in the fight against corruption.
Kwa AP tulipata 1048 ambao kila mwezi walikuwa wanalipa mshahara, lakini hakuna mtu anaonekana. Ni namba tu kwa makaratasi. Kwa DCI tulipata 153. Hawa maofisa 5,000 ambao walikuwa wanalipwa kila mwezi, ya? Mshahara wa huyu mwezi umepita, tumesave 148 million Kenya shillings.
He says Kenya will be at the same level with the developed countries that have benefited from having one central database.
Wengine wameenda sijui ati ukienda kujiandikisha utatoa damu, sijui uwekwe, sijui DNA testing. Ati mzee anaambiwa ukienda kujiandikisha, sasa kama wewe uko na mpango ya kando, mtoto atajua baba yake ni nani. Sasa taabu. Nakwambia upuzi ambao uko Kenya ni mwingi sana.
Even in the motor vehicle registration, when police officers get you on the road with your Huduma number, we can tell whether you are the owner of the vehicle, whether it's genuine and the registration is genuine.
The leaders reassured the citizenry that safeguards have been put in place so that data held by the government is safe and secure, including a bill that has been drafted to address data privacy concerns. The president was the first to be registered before flagging off the registration assistance and the 13,500 kits that will be used in registration over the 8,500 sub-locations countrywide. Registration has kicked off here in Machakos County, and these registration assistants will be working hand in hand with the registration officers, will be the assistant chiefs. Every assistant chief will have 5 registration assistants working under them, and this exercise is supposed to go on for 45 days. They say they're going to set up in public institutions, but at some point they'll carry out door-to-door registrations. Daniel Mule, NTV, Machakos.
I wonder if Daniel got registered.
It's a good question. Daniel, just text us and just tell us whether he got registered, as we plan to do ours as well. In the meantime, ODM leader Raila Odinga has criticized those opposing the digital registration exercise, saying it had come at the right time.
He led that launch in Mombasa. Deputy President William Ruto was expected in Kakamega for the launch, but was a no-show. Sports CS Amina Mohammed presided over the launch there.
Huduma number registration is officially on in Mombasa and other coastal counties after its official launching by former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, who was among the first persons to register. Raila also asked Kenyans across the coastal region to turn out in large numbers and participate in the process, saying that it will help in the operationalization of the National Integrated Identification Management System. Raila also took issue with those people opposing the process, and this is what he had to say.
Nimejua wengine walikuwa hawajaelewa vizuri, kwa sababu wengine wamekimbia mahakamani ati wanapinga. Mimi nauliza wanapinga nini? Dada mahakama nasema ati hiyo ni lazima, sijui nini. Ikiwa kama kungekuwa kitu ambacho inatakana hiyo ni lazima, ni hii.
Heshima kumwalika na kumlaki naibu wa rais akiwasili. Tafadhali.
The Deputy President William Ruto was supposed to preside over the event here at Kambia Mwanza in the county of Kakamega, did not show up, and instead sent the Cabinet Secretary for Sports, Amina Mohammed, who was accompanied by CS for Agriculture, Mwangi Kiunjuri, and Cabinet Secretary for Devolution, Eugene Wamalwa. Also in attendance was the Kakamega County Governor, Wycliffe Oparanya.
Kuna makamu wa rais kutoka Cuba, ndio kwa sababu Mheshimiwa makamu wa rais hakuweza kufika. I wish to commend the presidency through the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government for following through this conceptualization to launch this initiative.
The 4 leaders later joined residents here in the biometric registration exercise, which went on until 5 p.m. Okukusa, NTV, in the county of Kakamega.
Meanwhile, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka presided over the launch in Murang'a County.
He rallied all Kenyans to support the initiative.
It is all systems go for the registration and acquisition of Huduma numbers in Central Region. However, concerns have been raised by leaders over the laws governing data protection amidst calls for political unity in order to make this and other projects a great success.
Na msiamini, nasikia kuna ndugu wengine wameenda kwa mahakama kupinga.
Sasa kama mnapinga, nataka tu nijiulize, wenye ujuzi wa upinzani Kenya hii, mmoja ako hapa, mwingine ndio mnasikia kwa Mombasa Raila Odinga, mwingine ndio kwa sijui Kajiado Narok anaitwa Musalia Mudavadi, mwingine ako hapa na mimi ndugu yangu Weta, wapinzani hawa. Sasa unaanza kupinga huduma namba na hawa wenyewe wasema atupingi. Sasa hawa wapinzani watakuwa na shida kubwa sana.
Haraka iwezekanavyo serikali mlete mswada bungeni wa data protection, ili mwananchi akiwachilia information yake ya kila aina kwa serikali iwe inalindwa na isije ikatumiwa vibaya na majambazi na wahuni na watu wengine ambao nia yao haiwezi kuwa ni mzuri.
Melita Oletenges, NTV, Ihura Stadium, Murang'a County.
They were given a form which looked like this, where one was supposed to fill their details. After handing over the form to the officials, the details are then put in the biometric device. The photo will be taken, and afterwards your fingerprints will also be taken. Be given an acknowledgement slip with their details, and maybe one would wait till 45 days and they can be able to access or be given the card for Huduma number. Whichever county you are in, you can be able to register for the Huduma number. Musalia Mudavadi was here earlier on, and this is what he had to say.
Ni nambari ya kufutilia mbali porojo, udanganyifu, ukora, mambo ya watu kukula rushwa kama ofisi za serikali. Sasa hii namba ni musema ukweli.
Kenyans can now get easier access to government services, and security remains key. Helen Aura, NTV.
Well, back-to-back stories on the registration, and Dan Mule has just texted saying that he was so much under pressure to rush back to do that story he just watched earlier on, so he didn't register, but he hopes to do so very, very soon.
All right. And on that note, we take a break.
Writing services that have now become quite common in the country.
A report in Britain has highlighted how common the practice of procuring these services has become among European students, with Kenya at the center of countries where such services are offered.
Our reporter Edmond Nyabola has more.
Signage and posters strategically placed in various parts of the capital, advertising academic writing services of term papers and dissertations for undergraduate and postgraduate students, services that have now gained Kenya global notoriety. British tabloid Daily Mail has it that Kenya is one of the countries where academic dishonesty is rampant. A senior fellow at the Imperial College London refers to Kenya as the hotbed where all the writing happens. There is high unemployment and working from home is coveted. There are thousands of people in Kenya whose job is to write essays for cheating students. But the services are not only exported, they are also offered locally.
Particularly the Module 2 students, because they are busy. Poorly done assignment will show in the performance. First of all, the quality of communication and the grammar, the language that particular student uses will show.
None of the writers was available to speak to us, but our inquiries have established that a doctorate could fetch between 250,000 to 600,000 shillings, whereas a master's thesis pays between 30,000 and 100,000 shillings depending on the topic. The handsome rewards quite appealing for the proprietors.
It should be discouraged because it's creating laziness to students, and also I wouldn't subject those who are doing it, because some of them, through writing, doing dissertation, doing assignments for other people, that's how they pay their bills and they manage themselves outside there.
The Federation of Kenyan Employers has in the past complained of universities churning out half-baked graduates, but with no mechanism to test qualifications presented by students. Most of those who seek these services often get away with it.
The employers and the people who give jobs to try shift the attention from the papers, the grades, into what people can actually do. Like they should inquire more proof of how competitive people are.
The challenge in combating this flourishing business is compounded by the fact that there are no laws or regulations that actually prohibit it. Students and lecturers that we spoke to say it is upon the institutions of higher learning and by extension the Ministry of Education to come up with a legal framework to ensure that the papers that they actually grade are from their own students and not brains for hire. Edmond Nyabola, NTV, Nairobi.
From matters academia to matters health, Kenyatta National Hospital says it has incurred losses of up to 5.8 billion shillings in the last 15 years due to unpaid medical bills.
The hospital's board of management says the losses are bound to affect the financial health of the institution as more patients are unable to honor their obligations.
This was revealed as the hospital released patients detained over bills. NTV's Brenda Wanga reports.
Moreno Cheng has been at the Kenyatta National Hospital for the last 2 months, nursing her now 11-month-old daughter who suffered serious burns in a fire in their Kibera home. Her bill, when it came to it, was beyond her means.
Bill ilifika 200. Nikamwambia mimi sina kitu.
She was clinically discharged but couldn't leave the hospital due to the unpaid bills. She and her daughter made up the 258 patients that are now free to go home.
This has been ongoing. It's just that the past 2 weeks, we have now worked on the 256. So it is something that, if we check the data for the previous months, this is not the first time we are doing this. It is routine.
The hospital, which has a bed capacity of just 2,000 inpatients, currently admits more than double its capacity, and the board says holding patients unable to pay is an added strain to the facility.
At the interest of this hospital, as I've said, to make sure that every person goes home. Because when they are here, we still have to feed them, we still have to take care of them.
The hospital, in waiving the bills of some of the patients who had been detained and extending credit to others, says it is running into financial headwinds as a result of this.
With time, we have been able to accumulate a deficit of 5.6 billion.
The hospital says it is working hard to find a way of getting those who have defaulted on payments and are able to pay back. For Maureen, though, the waiver is a welcome relief. She gets to take her baby home just in time to celebrate her first birthday.
The hospital says it will not turn away patients who are unable to pay, but at the same time it says that it continues to face challenges of ensuring that it is financially stable to continue to offer the very same services that are needed by the public. Brenda Wanga, NTV, Nairobi.
Time now for business with Julian Zamboko on the other side of this break.
evening and welcome to NTV Business. I'm not Julian Samboko, I'm Dan Mwangi. Now, members of parliament have started investigations into a proposed takeover of operations of the Kenya Ports Authority by the Kenya National Shipping Line. KNSL is already in talks with KPA about the takeover, a move that would see it operate and maintain the 30 billion shilling port. The National Assembly's Public Investments Committee has, however, raised concerns over the capacity of the shipping line to run operations of the port, warning that if the matter is not handled with urgency, the country could lose the port to the shipping line, which is co-owned by an Italian firm. The committee has also accused the port of engaging in talks with KNSL in contravention of the Merchant Shipping Act, which prohibits a shipping line from operating a port terminal. In its defense, KPA has said the decision of the takeover was a policy decision made at a cabinet meeting. The government owed suppliers up to 33 billion shillings in unpaid bills by November the 12th, 2018, as pressure continues to mount for quick settlement of the bills. According to the National Treasury, some of the government agencies with high pending bills include the Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of Health, and State Department of Interior. Speaking while appearing before the National Assembly's Committee on Implementation, National Treasury Chief Administrative Secretary, that's Nelson Rashuhi, said the 33 billion shillings includes both recurrent and capital spending. Investment and insurance company UAP Holdings slid into a 518 million shillings loss position in the full year ended December 28 as the business took a hit from a number of adverse factors. Julian Samboko takes a look at the numbers.
In the 12 months ended December 2018, UAP Holdings' performance tanked by 185%, leaving the investment and insurance company with a loss after tax of 518 million shillings. Considerable drivers of this performance were losses attributable to the company's investment in the corporate bond of embattled cement maker Athi River Mining, which accounted for 38% of the 780 million shilling impairment loss. UAP's investment income also dipped by 20% to 2.9 billion shillings, further dragging the company's performance.
That bottom line performance is influenced by the performance of the equities market, in particular the Nairobi Securities Exchange, which was down almost 25%.
In 2018, UAP's performance was also derailed by lethargic growth in the company's earnings from premiums, something the top management says is as a result of growing caution in onboarding new businesses due to the consideration of the risk profile in the market.
We are maintaining a very disciplined approach to underwriting, ensuring that we properly price the risks that we take onto our books, and that exercise has meant that our top line has been flat or slightly declining.
It is not the first loss being reported for the financial year 2018, and as companies look into the remaining 8 months of the year, they are betting on a more bullish business environment to help lift their numbers. Julian Amboko, NTV.
The Capital Markets Authority has established a financial markets law review panel of 16 domestic and international financial market lawyers and practitioners. The panel will play an advisory role to the board in exercising its mandate to ensure that capital markets law remains responsive to market realities and appropriately facilitative to evolving market expectations. The appointees embody legal expertise in a wide variety of sectors in the financial space, including commercial law, tax law, venture capital and private equity, as well as Islamic finance. The global economy is forecast to grow by 2.6% in 2019, slowing down from the 3% growth it attained in 2018. According to the World Trade Organization, global trade shrunk by 0.3% in the fourth quarter of 2018. Brexit, which is currently in a state of confusion with only 10 days to go to D-Day, is one of the factors that is expected to dampen the pace of growth this year. New tariffs by governments in a bid to protect their economies, as well as retaliatory measures, are also forecast to contribute significantly to the slowdown of growth of the world economy. The United States and China are yet to fully resolve their spat. Over 2 million Kenyans were among the 113 million people across the world who faced acute food insecurity last year. A report released today on the global food crisis reveals a grim picture for most of the world, with fears looming that climate shocks and conflicts will continue to cause hunger in 2019. This even as the Ministry of Agriculture reveals that Kenya's agriculture sector has been on a downward trend for the last 5 years. Lilian Kiarie with more details.
Intercommunal conflict in drought-prone areas in northern Kenya, poor short rains and widespread flooding are some of the factors that drove food insecurity in the country last year. According to the Global Food Crisis Report published by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, World Food Programme and the European Union, fall armyworms and locust infestations, mainly in Marsabit and Turkana counties, also contributed to the dire situation in the country. This, even as the ministry has revealed that the agricultural productivity has dropped from 5.4% in 2013 to 1.6% in 2017.
The decline in food production may be occasioned by a number of factors such as drought, limited agricultural land expansion, low and declining soil fertility, inadequate use of quality seeds, delayed supply and high cost of inputs.
As a result, the country has been forced to import nearly all basic commodities such as sugar, wheat, maize, rice and beans to meet the rising demand.
This has led to high costs of food production and high global food prices that are exacerbated by the high level of poverty, resulting in low purchasing power.
The workforce to drive agriculture has also been numbed by rural to urban migration as young people chase down white-collar jobs. The report asserts that conflict and insecurity are expected to remain the primary cause of food security in 2019. Lilian Kiarie, NTV Business.
Business, myself, Dan Mwangi, respectively. Good night.
Welcome back. Anyone found carrying or dealing in unwoven carry bags will be arrested and prosecuted.
This follows the enforcement of a ban issued by the National Environmental Management Authority.
The authorities noted that the March 31st deadline given to manufacturers and traders to clear their stocks of the bags will not be extended.
And as Zainab Ismail reports, Kenyans, most of whom cannot differentiate between the approved bags and those banned, have no option but to comply with the immediate effect.
Mary Muthoni, a local vegetable vendor in Nairobi's South Bay estate, goes on her work oblivious of the fact that these carrier bags that she is using to pack vegetables for her clients are now outlawed. And Muthoni is not the only one using these bags. They are everywhere. These non-woven carrier bags that come in different sizes and colors are popular in many households, but not any longer. 2017 saw the introduction of alternative eco-friendly bags, which now NEMA has stated are not up to standard as required by the law.
But there was that understanding of goodwill that is replaced the market, it looks good. And then at some stage we all said, oh wow, this is going south, so we need to arrest the situation.
The National Environment Management Authority banned any form of manufacture, import, supply, distribution and use of non-woven polypropylene bags from March 31st.
Mimi sijaona ubaya hii paper bag kwa sababu hii paper bag mtu akinunua aendi kutupa, atakuja naye kesho na ikichafuka anaosha, anaanika tena, anaitumia tena.
Mimi nilisikia makaratasi haitakikani na hii ndio walituambia tutumie. So mimi na shida ni gani tutatumia?
Many Kenyans are however unaware or have chosen to ignore the directive, with some claiming there was not enough time to deplete their current stock and that this would occasion great losses to them.
Sasa ukiambiwa tulenunue tena, tutanunua gani? Na hiyo hizo zinaenda wapi sasa hii?
The plastic bags were banned on August 28, 2017.
Now Kenyans will be forced to comply with the enforced regulations by NEMA, making it more expensive. And if you are found carrying the banned carrier bags, you risk a 4 million shilling fine or a 1 to 2 year jail term. Zainab Ismail, NTV.
Did I hear Zainab right? 4 million?
That's extreme. This is so serious. We take a short break. Sports is up next with Waro the Kiru.
evening into it is time to play on NTV tonight. I am Warothe Kiru. A shopping expo hosted by the Kenya Association of Manufacturers at the Kasarani Stadium kicks off tomorrow ahead of Sunday's CAF Confederation Cup quarter-final first leg match between Gor Mahia of Kenya and Morocco's RS Berkane. Aida Waringa visited the grounds and filed this report of football and commerce facing off in an unlikely standoff.
The Moi International Sports Complex Kasarani, the country's biggest sports stadium, readying itself for a shopping extravaganza expo. Sports Kenya, the body mandated to manage stadia in the country, has had to do damage control after it emerged that it had authorized the Kenya Association of Manufacturers to hold an expo on Sunday, 7th April, the same day that Gor Mahia are set to play Moroccan club RS Berkane in Kogalo's first CAF Confederation Cup quarterfinal in over 20 years. After initially playing hardball, Sports Kenya bowed to social media pressure and is now seeking to juggle both clients, stating that arrangements would be made for the expo to end by Saturday, 6th April, so as to allow for Gor to play at Kasarani, which is the only CAF-approved stadium in Nairobi. Small problem though, CAF required that the grounds be cleared a day before match day and properly watered to allow for both teams to get a proper feel of the pitch. That realistically means that the expo would need to end by 5th, not 6th of April. Failure to this, and the continental body can impose sanctions. Exhibitors at the expo are already at the venue with their presence a cause for concern. The tents are set up on the running track, which was installed at great cost during the IAAF World Under-18 Championships. And despite the walkways at the expo being cordoned, they are narrow, leaving open a chance that crowds may spill over onto the pitch hours ahead of the crucial match. Gor Mahia head into the match without Harun Shakava, Shafiq Batambuze, Jacques Tuisenge, Ernest Wendo, and coach Hassan Okte, who are all suspended by CAF. And to add salt to injury, Gor Mahia has been fined close to 1 million Kenyan shillings for fan trouble that resulted in damage of property in 2 separate Kenyan Premier League games involving AFC Leopards and KCB. Aida Waringa, NTV.
It is painful to see tents on an athletics track. The national under-18 football team was held to a barren draw by Uganda in a friendly match played at the Utali grounds. Kenya was using the match to gauge its fitness ahead of the upcoming Union of North African Football Federation's UNAF under-18 tournament set to be played in Egypt. The team, coached by Michael Amenga, jets out to Alexandria, Egypt on Thursday for the Four Nations tournament. Kenya will be up against hosts Egypt, Morocco and Algeria. This as Uganda were preparing for the Africa Under-17 Cup of Nations in Tanzania.
But not as expected.
Mathare United could climb to second place on the Kenyan Premier League log with a win over 11th placed KCB on Wednesday afternoon at the Machakos Stadium. Fourth placed Bandari, whose ship has hit rough waters in the recent past, will welcome bottom of the table Mount Kenya United to Mbaraki as a Tusker take on Western Steamer, also in Machakos. It will be 8th versus 9th when Kakamega Homeboys host Ulinzi at the Bukhungu Stadium. On to rugby, and the national under-20 rugby team will be seeking to rise one position better in this year's edition of Africa's elite youth competition, the Bates Cup. The team, popularly known as the Chipu, will have to overcome defending champions Namibia to be crowned the best in under-20 in Africa and land a ticket to the 2019 Junior World Rugby Trophy in Brazil.
The national under-20 rugby team coach Paul Adera has, ahead of the 2019 Bates Cup, lamented the lack of age-grade structures in the country that can help develop the game.
Age-grade rugby is very tricky because you may watch a team and then half the team's lost because they're all overage and they've transitioned. Or you may watch them and a majority of them may be retained.
The national under-20 rugby team known as Chipu will open their campaign against Tunisia on Thursday, while Namibia takes on Senegal in the first match of the 4-team competition that will be played at the KCB Sports Club in Ruaraka.
Namibia has always had the strongest team on the continent after South Africa, and this year I'm sure will be no exception.
Chipu, which boasts of several foreign-based players, will be captained by Boniface Ochieng of Kenya Harlequin, with KCB Samuel Asati deputizing.
Big challenge, of course, as always with national teams, and with the under-20 side is time. It's always difficult. When you have players in South Africa, you have some in Scotland, you have some in England, some in Western Kenya, some in Rift Valley, then some in Nairobi. Trying to put all that together takes a lot of resources.
The Under-20 Bartes Trophy is Rugby Africa's only junior tournament. Kenya's Group A is the top tier, with the last team set to be relegated to Group B, while the winner of Sunday's final qualifies for the 2019 Junior Rugby World Cup trophy in Brazil. Sean Carter-Villis, NTV.
Kenyan-born Turkish athlete Kaan Kigen will be eyeing a podium finish at the Rotterdam Marathon in the Netherlands on Sunday. Kigen is currently training at Kaptagat, Elgeyo-Marakwet County, from where our Lois Wangoi caught up with him.
He is Kenyan-born, trains in Kaptagat, Elgeyo-Marakwet County, but come Sunday, Kaan Kigen will be flying the Turkish flag. Kigen, who made his marathon debut in 2013, changed his citizenship in 2015 from Kenya to Turkey. He may not be a household name, but he boasts of being a training partner with Olympic and world champion Mo Farah. The duo served up a sprint finish thriller in 2014 in the Great North Run.
I'm expecting to run well in Rotterdam. I think my aim now is to run my personal best there.
Kigen is expected to face off tough competition from 2016 Rotterdam Marathon champion Mares Kipserem, who placed 5th last year, Emmanuel Saina, who is also the Buenos Aires Marathon champion, and Sydney Marathon champion Elijah Kemboi. Incidentally, the group trains in Kapsabet in Nandi County.
Ethiopians, but as from for my training has been going on good, so I think everything is will be okay there. Yeah.
Last year, Kenneth Kipkemoi won the 38th edition of the Rotterdam Marathon, clocking 2 hours 5 minutes and 44 seconds on his marathon debut, while in the women's race, Vislin Dipkeso was victorious. Lois Wangoi, NTV Sports, Eldoret.
And to wrap up our bulletin, let me just give you an update of the African Volleyball Championship men's edition that's currently ongoing in Cairo, Egypt. And it's been a rough night for Kenyan teams. GSU and Prisons have both lost tonight. That makes it 2 losses in a row for GSU. Incidentally, 3 sets to 2 in both matches. And for Prisons, the first loss, they fell 3 sets to 1 to Al Swini of Libya. And hopefully, the boys will have a better result in their upcoming matches. But that's how we wrap up sports tonight. Thank you for watching. Do have a lovely night. I am Warote Kiru. Okay, and clearly, Olive.
Yes.
First of all, you're looking very lovely.
Thank you.
Oh, the studio is very bright.
Popping, like where you're coming from just shines through. Dennis, did you want compliments?
You're not looking too shabby yourself.
Thank you.
No, she brightens up the studio.
She definitely does.
Thank you, Arabe.
Well, without any further ado, Sidebar is up next. And tonight, it's about the divided country. The legacy of President Uhuru Kenyatta is at stake because of the unending corruption cases. It's about the state of the nation.
With the State of the Nation address, of course, expected on Thursday. And Ken Mijungu's guests are Jennifer Shamala, who's a nominated Member of Parliament, Emilio Odhiambo, who's a Suba North Member of Parliament, Joseph C. Meha, who's the Director in Form Action, ex-Director in Form Action, and Sylvanas Osoro, who is a Member of Parliament for South Mugirango.
All that is coming up next. My name is Dennis Okari.
And I'm Olive Burrows. Thank you for watching. Warode.
My name is Warote Kiru. Do have a lovely night.